Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Fresh Crits of Melbourne. As you might have guessed it, we're back on the CX Whipperino. We're up at Shepparton. This is round 4, Fruits of the Valley CYCLO-CROSS series, and we are off. So for those who didn't watch the video before this one, it was the same course, round 3, but this time we're doing it in reverse. So straight into the Circle of Doom. We're here today with about 19 riders, so it's a pretty healthy field that have made their way up to the great country city town of Shepparton. So we're in the Circle of Doom now. Found myself a little bit further off the back, which is turning into a bit of a common occurrence in these CX races as we're entering the really tight corners of the Circle of Doom, and it gets super congested here. We almost come to a standstill. Guys are off their bikes. We make this sharp right hand, then left hand corner. I wanted to keep it on the bike because remounting like this guy in front of me, 241, does burn a few matches as you're jumping on and off the bike. So now it's all about just finding a settled rhythm and trying to find some nice easy passing lines to get past the rest of the field. So for those who are new around these neck of the woods, my name is Steve Flack and I put cycling videos together. I strap GoPros to the bike and ride races, if it's CX like this one, crits, road races, everything like that. And always try to get some power data overlaid on top of the videos. So if you like this stuff, please hit that like and subscribe, send it to your friends. I think 67% of you guys haven't subscribed, so it would do the channel a huge favor if you can hit the subscribe button. I just want to get these videos out to as many people as I can, just to promote cycling in Victoria and get more and more people down and riding. So let us discuss a little bit about this race in Shep. So like I said before, this is the second day. So this is on the Sunday for the CX State Series, or whatever you want to call it, Fruits of the Valley down in Shepparton. The race on the Saturday, the one, before this video, was done the opposite way. So I think on the second day they try to mix it up and throw it in reverse. Now, personally, I found the reverse a lot easier going. I don't know if it was the legs that just felt a little bit better, but I was able to find better lines and find better positionings. This is a prime example where there's plenty of grip and you can just make up so many little spots in these CX races. I think you've really got to play to your strengths in these sorts of races. I find myself as a little bit of a punchier sort of rider, so I'm trying to not try to burn all my matches just pedaling threshold, but trying to find those little moments throughout the race to gain a couple of spaces and then hold the fleet up, I guess, and trying to recover wherever I can. So right now we are in the BMX track right next to the Shep Velodrome. And it's pretty straightforward through this sort of section. There is a pipe on the ground there you can see on the right hand side between the two bits of grass, but you have to watch out for. Don't want to slip on that. But apart from that, it's a pretty straightforward part of the circuit. We turn right and we're going to be see that grandstand right in front of us? Not a grandstand, it's like a ramp, I guess, for the BMX track. We're going to be riding up to the right hand side of that, and that just burns all your matches. You're having to spike up to 1,000 watts just to punch yourself straight over that one. So right now I think I've found myself in like 8th or 9th position, so right in the middle of the field as we punch over this climb, 960 watts just to get straight over that. And you can see in the right hand side where a couple of riders are about to enter it now, there is a little bit of a beach in Shep. They've brought Beach Road over to Shepparton, which is fantastic to see. You can see it on the left hand side. We have to ride over that one. So the day before this we had a bit of a run in to launch over that. This is almost coming from a standstill, 12 kilometers an hour. You got to spin up those revs, keep the back rear spinning just so you can float across that sand, straight into the mud pit and then up another hill. So a couple of really big efforts there to just to make it through the course without having to get off the bike. So now the task is to find some recovery. But what I've learned very early on in my CX racing career, there are very few spots to recover. As you see, dropping the head, already feeling the absolute hurts of this race. We drop down here, we make a really sharp left-hand turn. We've got to jump off the bike, run up these stairs. My legs are feeling like absolute jelly, and I'm running up these stairs like a baby giraffe. Meanwhile, old mate here, 234, Mr. Nicholas Dumas, very good name, was able to prance up the hill and is already putting some time into me. But, with these sorts of races, like we say, and even in crit races, There's no need to panic and jump on his wheel. Just ride back to the wheel, find your moments where you can jump across and take him on the inside. So here we are, reverse on the beach. Making sure you stay really high. You can see the sand here is quite firmly packed, which means you can the rolling resistance is quite good. Here you go, Paul Walker giving me some words of encouragement on the left-hand side. Cheers, mate. We go underneath the big grandstand, I guess it is. And now's that time where I can easily put in a couple of extra pedal strokes to get in front of this guy, because I know the next section is going to be that really tight, twisty section where effectively you can pedal at your own sort of cadence and really recover the best you can. So an interesting point with this one, you can see the riders up ahead. I did a count back and I figured out that I'm about 6 seconds behind these boys here. And this is a section that I actually didn't mind, really railing those corners, flipping the bike from the left to the right in order to really get some traction around these corners. Now the interesting thing with the CX bike is you can pedal almost all the corners because the bottom bracket is so high. So on a road bike, if you were to do this sort of thing, you'd be clipping the pedal, smashing your crank into the ground at every pedal stroke. But because the CX bike is a bit differently, it does allow you to pedal through these corners. So you can see just through that section, I'm now 1 second behind this group, which is a good thing as I'm trying to get into a podium finish this race. So this guy gets a little bit loose into that corner, jumping on too much rear brake, pops the rear wheel out too far, has to regain his balance and get out of the saddle in order to gain up to speed. So that's those little things that you're trying to do in the race, or not trying to do rather, in order to make sure that that heart rate stays nice and low and you can, I guess, find those moments to recover. This is not a bad spot for a passing lane. You can come through here with a fair bit of speed. I find myself almost pinched with this guy, yell at him to stay left as I can get around him. And looking back at this footage, you can actually pick the moment where his chain jumps off the front chainring, and that's why he fell off the back there. So unlucky for him, but he'll be able to get himself sorted and get back on the bike in no time. So we're back again on this really thick, muddy, grassy section. Now the great line here is close to the barriers, and you can see that all the riders are doing that at the moment. So you can see that's where the really firm bit of grass is. You just got to be mindful that that barrier doesn't get caught underneath your brake levers, and you end up pulling the whole course in with you, which CX racing, I guess. We make that right-hand turn up through this little bit of rough section in the ground, trying to find those really, really smooth lines here. And as we get to the end of this section, we're going to make a right-hand turn and we're going to enter the velodrome. So let's pick this up from there. So here we make that right-hand turn. There's a few different lines that I was thinking to take at this part of the track. You can see a lot of the guys staying nice and low on the flatter part of the velo and then coming in onto the grass at a relatively low pace. But I thought, let's try something different. I work myself really, really high on the velodrome, which allows me to charge onto the grass, onto the mud, hitting up to 30 kilometers an hour as I rail into this really tight hairpin here. Knee out, trying to balance the bike as much as possible, railing that corner, because this section I'm the slowest at. If I go back and have a look at the flybys, I constantly find myself losing time through this section. So little things like that where you can find your own way to generate speed are what matters in this CX race. Anyway, let's skip ahead as we're down 1 lap. That's 1 lap completed now. We'll skip ahead a little bit and pick up where the next bit of action is. Stay tuned. Alrighty, so we're going to pick this up just a couple of minutes later. We found ourselves back near the BMX track, and for those who have subscribed to my Instagram channel, fresh_crits on the gram, you would have seen this footage. This is textbook undercutting, which would get you thrown out in a crit race, but it's almost encouraged here in CX. So you saw that rider decide to go nice and wide. I saw there was an easy line to go on the inside, push him nice and wide, and was able to take up an easy position there. Like I said, not too sure if it's legal, but it doesn't matter. We're good to go. So let's move ahead a little bit further to pick up where there's a bit more action. Stay tuned. Alrighty, so we are now 18 minutes into the race, and I found myself in 5th position with rider Tim Northey, who's bloody strong and finishes this race in 4th position. So I find a little opportunity to push him nice and wide on the velodrome. I ramp it up to 300 watts, but then drop it back down as I know he's going to try to take me up on the inside here. I force him nice and wide and effectively shut the gate on that attack and able to, slowly recover as we enter to some more technical parts of the race. So this is now, I'm sitting in 4th position. In front of me, 221. That's Neil O'Leary, and he actually finished 2nd in this race and has been quite competitive throughout the series. A leaner sort of build, but has really nice bike handling and good power throughout the course. So here I am in 4th position, fighting for the wheel for 3rd. So once again, I'm faced with another opportunity for an overtake, and exactly the same move happens again. I think what riders are thinking that they can go wider on this and get onto the BMX track quicker, and get on the tarmac, which is going to be a little bit less rolling resistance than if you just beeline it straight for the corner. And that's where I've been able to now take up 2 spots. So a nice little passing lane there. But my hold on 3rd position didn't last long as we're faced with this really steep climb, almost pushing up to 1,000 watts with really dead legs, with Neil once again retaking that 3rd position. So in my mind, I'm like, that's okay, I'm going to let him have that because I've been riding really strongly over the sand trap here, and I'm thinking maybe I can take some position there. But if you look behind me in the pretty smudged up rear cam, you can see there's a lot of traffic behind. And there are a lot of riders all building up, wanting to fight for positions. You can see here, Neil absolutely spinning that rear wheel, kicking up a whole bunch of sand straight into my face in order just to keep his speed throughout that sand trap. His legs are, and our legs are absolutely full of lactic now, and it's really hard to keep those pedals turning over as you're faced with another short, punchy climb. Stay in the saddle, throw the bike over the top, and try to find some recovery with Mr. Pink on the right-hand side, who's got to be one of the funniest race directors, commissionaires, whatever you call them, that I've ever come across. Is an absolute legend. Back off the bike here, running up the stairs with dead legs, trying to take that inside line. We've got Paul Walker giving me some words of encouragement. He pushes me nice and wide into the barrier. He has no business wanting to let me through. Looking a little sketchy on that descent. We're going to go through this little muddy section and jump onto the sand. But I'm going to skip that little section and we're going to pick it up where there's another passing lane. So we've made it out of the grass, off the sand, onto the grass, off the grass, now onto the flat bit where a lot of the riders are finding this time to recover, but this is an opportunity for me to overtake again, spiking up to 600 watts. I'm absolutely hurting here, but I want to enter this next section first because I can take my own lines and essentially recover. I'm currently sitting in 2nd position, and you'll get a glimpse of the rider, there he is there, who's currently in 1st. So we've made our way out of that twisty, turny section, and we're brought to some really loose gravel, and you can see here the rider who's 1st takes that line way too fast, washes out his front wheel, has a bit of a stack, loses a bit of skin, but that's fine with me because I'm able to jump into 1st position. He's fine here. It was a pretty low speed crash. He just washed out, but he's pretty dirty on himself because he's lost a whole bunch of time. He had a pretty commanding lead on the group, but now, you know, opportunity here has arisen, and I've now found myself 1st position. But really, to be completely honest with my fitness level, I shouldn't be at the front. You need to really think about what your strengths, what your weaknesses are. These boys have a bigger engine than me. Really, I should have been smart enough to let them through so I can sit in their wheel and essentially try to recover. But, you know, this is CX racing. The speeds aren't that high, so recovery's at a minimum. So by standing at the front, I guess you are able to choose your own lines and hold up the field as best you possibly can. Now it's just a matter of how long or if I can hold that 1st position for the rest of the race. Mind you, there is still 7.7 kilometers left to this race. We're only 25 minutes in of a 50-minute race, so let's see if I can hold on. A few minutes later, we found ourselves back again on the BMX track, and you can see in the rear camera the amount of riders starting to queue up behind me in order to take the throne of 1st place and the opportunity arises to literally knock me off the podium in one foul sweep. So I'm absolutely blowing here. I'm cooked. 30 minutes into this race is absolutely brutal. These boys are just getting started, as seasoned CX professionals should be. Anyway, it does not take long for the first rider to find his way past me. Number 244, Brendan Thornton, finds his nice line past me and then quickly jumps on the gas and already is out to a 2 to 3 bike lengths in front. Now it's that time of the race where you have to surge up this climb, and I'm in all sorts just trying to get the pedals to turn over. I've lost another wheel. I'm down into third place. It's all falling apart for me one rider at a time. I take this line way too wide, which puts me pretty poorly into the next corner, and I'm losing bike spots very, very quickly, just as quickly as I almost picked them up. So I'm still on the podium, currently sitting just in third, but if you look at the left-hand side here, you'll see a sneaky Tim take the inside line, but because I've got that pace coming off the velo, I'm able to pass him with a bit of speed, railing around this corner. So I'm just, ladies and gentlemen, hanging on to third position. But how much longer is it gonna last? But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. I'm in third position. I do a bad shift and end up putting the chain up into the spokes. Any moment now it happens, and you can hear me cry out in pain. No. And that is race over. There goes fourth. There goes Speedy. I'm now in fifth. There goes six. I'm in all sorts now. I'm trying to sort out the gears. The chain's wedged between the spokes and the cassettes. I need one of those dork discs. In an act of frustration, I end up bending the, not the hanger, but the actual derailleur cage to try to, get the chain out between the spokes. I finally got the chain onto the cassette now, but the gears are in all sorts. I run the bike to get a bit of momentum. I then remount and try to turn the gears over. I hear my shifting, and you can hear the gears crying out in pain as dollar signs disappear behind me as the shards of metal break off my cassette. That's pretty much race over, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to skip up to where I dump the bike and jump into pits, but as far as footage goes, that's pretty much the end of it. So we'll skip ahead to that, where you can have your laughs, and we can go from there.
Hey Walker, pits. I need a bike. Okay.
Alright, so I'm going to give you a bit of an example how not to do the pits or a bike chain. So we make our way through the grass. Walker's waiting with me with his bike. I take my Garmin off. We do the bike change. For some reason, I want to put the Garmin on the bike. I'm not looking where I'm going. I crash into the fence.
Turn your GoPro off.
And that's pretty much it. That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like this stuff. And I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.